As I said, Matt, we have two very special guests joining us this morning, Donnacha and Johnny Murphy. How are you keeping, lads?
Hi, lads. How are
Morning,
you?
guys. Morning, G.
Morning, lads.
A huge thank you for you coming on. I suppose we spend too much time talking about referees from week to week, so it's very good to have an inside voice here and two of the best in the business and in Limerick, especially with two of you lads. Donnacha, I'll come to you first. I suppose one of the main reasons we have you on is that there's a recruitment drive going on for referees in the county of Limerick, if you want just to delve into that a bit more.
Yeah, Jack, and I suppose thanks a million for having us on, first of all. We're in a situation in Limerick at the moment regarding numbers that it's quite scary. We've done a kind of a bit of research on it. In 2012, we had 106 referees. Now in 2022, we have 53. So we've lost 50% of our referees. Back in 2012, we had 890 senior board games. We now have 1,100 as well as 1,300 board and all games. We have 2,400 games roughly between 53 referees. I suppose I'm in a situation involved with Fiona Cassman, doing a bit of underage coaching. I know Johnny's the same with his own club. I suppose it's a worry we have going forward that there's going to be games. There's going to be games unreffed. You're going to have two teams at a venue and we may not have a referee to show up. So we've asked yourselves to come on board today to speak to you, to try and get the message out there that we need new referees, we need fresh blood, and we need to freshen things up within Limerick GAA referees.
Johnny, how would you encourage someone that maybe has a slight interest to get involved? What would you say to them if they're kind of on the fence about it?
Look, I suppose going back nearly 22 or 3 years when I was on the fence whether I get involved in refereeing. I suppose refereeing in a way it's a good way to be involved. We're all GA people. It's a good way to be involved in the big games where it is a junior B hurling match behind in Tournafulla or below in Kilteely or Kilmallock. You know, when you're inside in the middle of, there's great enjoyment out of it. Like you meet great GA people all over the county and the country, which is great. There's fantastic GA people out there. I suppose it's a way of keeping fit. There is perks. You're well looked after, to be fair. You know, if you step up the ladder, you get bigger matches. I suppose starting off, I suppose the main thing is to try and if you do like GA and you do like playing and you come to the end of your playing career, and even if you are still playing, it's no harm to go down and maybe do 5 or 6 or 8 matches during the year. You will get great enjoyment out of it. Yes, there is times when it will be tested and it will be hard, but you know, there is great enjoyment out of it. You know, there's for all the good games we do, there's a few ones we'd rather we didn't do and we shouldn't have done, but you know, it is enjoyable. And it's a great way of staying involved with the GA, you know, and the whole thing.
Donnacha, do you get that enjoyment as well that Johnny's talking about there?
100%, I suppose. Something like Johnny took it up in 2014. It was I was finishing up my playing career, and it's giving something back also. Like, I mean, I suppose at the end of our campaign, in our letter we sent out to the clubs in the last couple of days is no ref, no game. We don't have a ref, we don't have a game. So it is the giving back. And like Johnny said, I'll 100% agree with him. The positives way outweigh they're way more positive than the negatives, to be fair.
And has it changed since you started, Donnacha, in terms of, I suppose, relationship with players and, you know, overall relationship between the players and the referees? You know, is there less or more respect since you started, do you think?
I do think the players respect more. I do think they understand the tough job we have, to be fair, Jack. And I do think the most of them appreciate what we're at. Do you know what I mean? We go out, we have a job to do. We go out, we do it as fairly as we can. I mean, that's all we can do.
Yeah, and then Johnny, you know, we're all humans. People on the sideline make mistakes as quick as the man in the middle. But if you make a mistake, how would you like to move forward? Would you like to see a scenario where, you know, you come out on a Monday or you go over to the team afterwards and say I make a mistake, and vice versa? If someone on the sideline was at you for the hour and 20 minutes, would you like them to come into you and say, look, heat of the moment? Or how would you like to see that issue resolved and not take it further than the game itself?
Look, we've all made mistakes on the field, off the field. I suppose, you know, we've made mistakes on the field. We go out to referee a match. We try not to cause any problems. We try not to make any mistakes, and we do. Did he catch it 3 times? I wasn't sure. He's stuck in the back of the net. Should I give him a red card? Should I give him a yellow card? You know, these little things. They're the things that are thrown at you when you are refereeing a match. Like in the heat of the moment, there's a lot of things said on the field in the heat of the moment to referees on the field from players and from management. And to be fair, a lot of the players will come to you after matches. You know what, Johnny? I shouldn't have said that. Or a manager will come into you after the matches. Johnny, I was out of order there. And you know what? You'd have to applaud him for coming to you because it's a hard thing to do to put up the hand and say, you know what? I was wrong to do what I wrong. What wrong to do. But to be fair, a lot of people that are playing the game, a lot of people that are managing the game, they're GA people. The guy that's giving it to you in the stand and close by, I don't think they're GA people because if they don't really understand the situation, I just feel that the good, honest, genuine GA supporter or player will understand what you're trying to do. It's just the ones that are far removed from that are the ones that are causing the problems.
Yeah, and talking about that, Johnny, obviously as a national referee, how do you deal with criticism from people on Twitter that might be behind an egg emoji? You don't know who they are. They've a fake name. Do you just try to avoid that, or just try and understand that they're not GA people at the end of the day?
Well, I'm not on Twitter, so that'll help the situation. Look, Twitter is there. All these social medias are there. The man who turns around and said to you, or a person turns around and said to you, well, don't look at him. You're going to look for it, and you are going to look at it. You get used to it. You don't like it, and the time that you put into it, you don't deserve what's been thrown at you. But again, the people, I don't wonder, are they GA people? A lot of these people that are hiding behind the usernames and stuff like that, have they ever played the game? Have they ever understood the game? It just takes a small fraction, someone to say something, and everyone is jumping on the bandwagon, and it just takes a life of its own. And I'm not on social media. I'm to be fair, and that's one thing that helps my situation. I don't comment on these things either, but it's the world we're living in, and that's a pity. That's the world we're living in,
Yeah, and again on the high level performance, do you ever look at another sport, kind of like rugby, that just seems to be huge respect between the referee and the players, and maybe wonder, could that be incorporated into the GA?
Oh, you'd love it. You'd absolutely love it. Of course I watch other sports. Of course you do. You look at the rugby. The rugby is fantastic. It's unbelievable. You've a referee who's 5'5", and it's a fellow about 6'7" or 8, and he's looking down, and the referee telling him to be quiet and do this and so, and they apologise, and you'd have to applaud the way they go about it. But I suppose you go across the water to the Premiership. Yes, you watch the referees, you watch the matches, but when there's a call to be made, they're all running around the referee and they're all roaring and shouting at the referee, and they're all and it looks terrible. So they have their own problems as well. So in that way, yes, you do watch other. You'd love, like, in fairness, there is give respect, get respect. I kind of think that works both ways as well. We've got to give respect to the players, and they give respect back, because you'd see some referees not in other counties and national, and I'm the boss here, and they're shouting at players, and that's not the way to go about it. Like, we're all in for the 60 minutes to play a game, to get on, have no problems. Like, I'm only there to implement the rules. That's all I'm there for. I'm not there to be the boss, and a lot of people understand that as well, A lot of people understand that. Is it the same? I remember when I started back refereeing 22 or 3 years ago, it hasn't changed that much, to be fair. You still get the fella on the line that's giving it to you, or the fella that's giving out about you, But look, you try in one ear, out the other ear, So that's the kind of way you be,
Donnacha, for you, sorry, go on, Johnny.
You need to be thick-skinned, but look, you get used to it.
Donnacha, for you, if dealing with criticism, how do you go about it? Are you on social media, or do you try to avoid that kind of stuff as well?
Look, I am on social media, but I try and avoid it as best as possible. I suppose a good friend of both myself and Johnny's, Brendan Stack, did a thesis years ago on refereeing, and he interviewed various referees around the county, and one referee says that the way he deals with it is he doesn't take the abuses him personally. The way he looks at it is they're abusing the jersey. he doesn't take it personal. They're abusing him as referee, not as a person. And you have to deal with it. Johnny says, come here, we all go home after games. We all have families. You have to deal with it. It's like having a bad game as a player. You have to deal with it. If you make mistakes, you have to come home, you have to process it, you have to park it and move on. There's another game, more than likely the following day, a couple of days' time. You have to start focusing in on that and getting ready for that.
And what would you say to the fella on the sideline or in the stand that might have said something in the heat of battle? How would you want him to rectify that situation with yourself as the referee?
I tend not to worry about the lads in the stand, to be quite honest with you. We kind of have a motto, we worry about the 30 lads in the field, to be honest. Yes, you'll have issues within the perimeter defence. If somebody gets hot and heavy, and look, as Johnny said, if they come up and apologise after, you have to say, look, fair play. You deal with it. Do you know what I mean? Shake his hand, you walk away, that's it. We've all probably done it as players as well ourselves, but you just have to learn from it and move on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Matt, I'll throw it over to you there.
Yeah, Donnacha, the first question to you, as chairperson of the Limerick Referees Association and as the person spearheading the current recruitment in Limerick, can you take us through the steps of how somebody that would be so minded to become a referee, the various steps that have to go through to get a whistle in their mouth and get in between two teams?
Yeah, there's a few options. You can go to your own club secretary and ask them to put you forward and get in contact with myself or Patsy Coffey. I suppose we've spoke about social media. We've done a big social media campaign, and this year through Limerick GA and myself and Patsy's information is on that. Once they get involved in that, there's a 4-night course, 2 of them online, 2 of them in person. Then we have to make sure there's a few things done. They have to be Garda vetted, very important for board and all games. Once their membership is paid with their club and they're ticked off as a club member, as a referee, a match official under their club membership, and everything is above board, they go on the system then, and we speak to the board and all, and we try and get them out in underage games. We've committed this year to the new referees coming in that, if possible, we're going to try and get around to their first few games. We won't say we'll assess them. We'll stand in the sidelines. We'll help them out. If they have an issue, we'll go into them at half time. We'll try and speak to them before, during the game at half time and after, and just advise them on how to improve. I suppose the biggest problem we had was we always had people coming on and taking it up, but it was the amount of people we lost that fell through the cracks. It was the retention, and that's what we're trying to improve this year as a referees association, as a committee. If we get 10 or 12 people doing the referees course this year, it's to try and have those 10 or 12 people next year, the year after that.
So basically you're saying to me that there is an ongoing support system in place for upcoming referees, particularly, and referees starting out.
That's what we're hoping to start off this year, Matt. Yeah, 100%.
Johnny, can I turn to you? And I know where your love of referee came from. I think it was in your house a long time. How big a step, Johnny, is it? As big a step up is it refereeing inter-county from club?
Well, the game is the same. A big step up. It's not a big step up. I suppose the step up is comes with what's coming with it. From media, from the television to the radio to the papers. The game itself is the same. It's a lot more scrutinized. There's a lot more fitness wise. You need to work. You look after yourself. You do a lot of work outside of the game. You have to work with your umpires. And you have to work with your team. So the game itself is the same, but it's just all the stuff that comes with it in regards to the preparation and all that kind of stuff. So in the build up to the game, you're kind of day before you're thinking about it, and then when you have the match, and that takes an awful lot out of you. And then afterwards, you have you've got your famous Sunday game, and then afterwards, then you've got to worry about the papers, and then you're kind of 2 days into it, and then you've about 2 days out of it, and then you're hoping that everything goes fine, and you're out the other end. So the game itself is the same, but the preparation is a lot more preparation. To be fair, a lot more training, a lot more traveling, a lot more meetings, a lot more fitness. So look, it all comes together, and that's what we have to do. That's what they want us to do. So look, you just go and do it, and it's all good. It's all worthwhile.
How important, Johnny, is it, and you touched on it there, is the teamwork between yourself, your umpires and your linesmen? Because they seem to be, as the years go on, they seem to be becoming more and more involved in the game and more involved in the decision-making process.
Look, Matt, you can be the best referee in the country, but if you haven't got, if your umpires aren't up to it, you're in big trouble. Like, you got to remember, if you're refereeing one of these big matches, you've got a referee, you've got 2 linesmen, you've got a 4th official, and you've got 4 umpires. So adding all up that on, there's a lot of eyes on the game, and you need every one of those eyes on the game. You kind of look at it in such a way that they're very important, and all you're going through a game is you're just hoping nothing will go wrong or nothing big incident as they come about. But it's important, if something happens, that it's dealt with, and if something happens, it has to be seen. So you got your 4 umpires looking out on the field. They take a quarter of the field each. You got your linesmen up and down. They're just not there to watch a match. They're there to work and keep your eyes on the ball and on the players. And now that came in last year is your 4th official. Your 4th official is very, very important. There was a time 2 years ago your 4th official could see something, but he couldn't act on it. He couldn't. But now that's changed in Congress, that the 4th official has plenty of power now, that if he sees an incident, he can report it to the referee. So it all kind of works together. You're in a team of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of you in a match day, which is very important. And it's important that they all work together, that they're there for the hour and a half and that they put a good shift together. That's very, very important. One bad link could cause you big problems. One fella that just didn't see something, and, like, for instance, it all reverts back to the referee. The referee's in charge. And if the umpire misses it, it goes back to the referee. So that's, it is very important, and it's very important that they're all tuned in. That's the most important thing. I remember I was in Croke Park a couple of years ago. I was at the All-Ireland semi-final, and there was a lot happening off the ball, on the ball, and I said to my boss, I said, geez, they'll have to give me a ticket for the football All-Ireland, because I've seen none of this semi-final. He says, you're not here to watch the match. You're here to work. And he's right. You weren't here to watch. And there's times we referee matches, and there's times we do line-up matches, and I couldn't tell you who played well or who didn't play well, because you're not actually watching the match. You're watching the ball. You're not watching the players. You're not standing back and observing. It's something that's unusual to explain. But as the man said to me, you're not here to watch the match. You're here to work. So your teamwork's important. That's one thing for sure. Now your teamwork's important whether you're below in Atlaka or you're below in Kilmallock or Askeaton. If it's junior B, if it's senior, it all works the same. It all links up the same. That for whatever match you are doing. If you have 2 umpires, or if you've got 4, or if you've got 2 linesmen, just work as best you can together.
Donnacha, reverting back to you and reverting back to the recruitment drive, what level of fitness and physical fitness is required to be a referee? What is the minimum level?
I suppose in club level, we just want someone that can get around the field, Matt. I mean, I suppose as you move up along, and Johnny spoke about it, when you go to provincial and national level, your fitness levels have to step up. But look, we just want someone that can get around the field and be in the right place to make the right decision on any given night that they're out to referee a game, to be fair.
Donnacha, are you happy that the county boards and the authorities are strong enough in the application of sanctions and penalties for transgressions?
Yes, to be fair, I think we have our county board have backed the referees, to be fair. Anytime there's an incident and it's reported properly, the county board deal with it. And I suppose we can only speak about our own county here today. And to be fair, I would say, yes, they do a good enough job, to be honest.
Thanks, lads.
Thanks,
and
Matt.
I suppose overall, lads, I presume you're happy with the standard of refereeing in Limerick. It's just you need more bodies on board, pretty much.
Yeah, well, I suppose the more bodies drive up the numbers, and it drives up the standards as well, Jack. Like, if there's more referees coming through, you have to work harder yourself, because there's somebody there. If I say no to a game, there's somebody else will come on and referee it, and if that person has a good game, then they'll be asked the next day to do it before me.
Yeah. And Johnny, you're happy with the standard in the county?
Yeah, there's some great referees in the county. Every one of them, to be fair. Like we're a family. We work very well together. We help each other doing line. We help each other doing umpire. You know, we're kind of gone to the stage was, you know, if anyone is willing to give it a try, just like come in and do 4, 5, 6 matches. You don't have to come in and do 25 matches in the year. Like any few matches will help. If some fella once you get the course done, you're a qualified referee, and then you can tease it out then after that. Like it's very important. If 5 lads turn around and done 5 matches, that's 25 matches. You know, so that'll help us. Like we were in situations like we're out every day refereeing, and as Donnacha alluded to there at the start, like it's coming down the line that if no referee's there to do the matches, there'll be no match on. And you're coming down the line as two teams are ready to play a league match in a couple of weeks, and we'll do everything in our power, and Patsy will do everything in his power to get a referee to that match. But you'll come to a stage as 2 teams are going to be at a venue, we'll have no referee to do it. You know, and I think we've all been in the situation whereas we've all been sitting at home having a supper, or we've all been sitting home on a Sunday dinner and we get a phone call. God, there's no referee in Kilmallock. Can you get there? Can you get there? And we've all done it. We've all dropped the knife and fork and gone, and we've all done it in evens as well. And we'll do our best to get to a venue to referee a match. And I think every referee has done that. We're a great bunch of guys, and I had to admire anyone that takes up the refereing. You know, it's, as I said, there's great enjoyment out of it. And you know, if someone can come in and say, you know what, I'll give it a go. I'll referee 3 or 4 matches. And you know what, when you've the 3 or 4 done, you might say, you know what, give me a few more matches. Ring the board in Og or the county board and say, you know what, I'd like to do a few more, and we'll give you a few more. And we're, as Donnacha said as well, we're all there to help. You know, we're all there for advice. If someone wants to ask a question, you know, but as I said, there's great guys. We have a great refereeing family in the county of Limerick, every one of them, and they all help each other, which is very, very important.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a bit of a bug, like playing or coaching. That's just the hardest step is probably to go to your comfort zone and sign up. But before I let you go, Johnny, I know I was interested there that you said you're here to work, but have you ever been refereeing a game and there's a player there and you're just mesmerized? It's you kind of forget that you're refereeing, you know, maybe like a Keane Lynch or a Kyle Hayes, that you've just kind of stopped and like, whoa, I'm actually reffing here, that you've got lost in the game.
You can't get lost in the game, because if you get lost in the game, you're in big trouble. Look, when you go to inter-county or you know, Donnacha's done it, and we've a good few guys on the Munster panel as well, and we've a good few guys on. We've done Johnson on the national panel, and we've a lot of guys on the support panel, and we're up and close. Like we're up and close with I say the superstars of up and coming superstars in the county. But you know, there's players, you're running around the field with players, and these guys, you're just memorized by what they can do with a slitter, and like it's amazing. Like they're catching slitters, and you're, how has he got that in his hand? You know, the skill level is fantastic. You don't want to stand up and admire, because we can't admire, we just need to move. But to be fair, it's a great way of being involved. It's a great way of meeting the superstars. And I suppose if, like, as you make your progression, and the one thing about it is there's great progression. Like you start the board in Oak, then you go on to the senior board in Limerick. Then they'll put you forward to Munster, and then when you go to Munster, you put forward to the national panel, support panel, and then on to the national. So there's steps. There's plenty of steps there. So if you're good enough and you've improved, there's plenty of doors to be opened, if you know what I'm saying. You know, it takes hard work, yes, but it is worth it. You're standing in the middle of Thurles with 40,000 people, or you're over in Crow Park with 55,000 people. It's where you want to be. It's why you're taking them steps, you know. So it's fantastic to be involved with the superstars and getting very close to them as well. You know, it's amazing what these guys can do with a hurling or football in that aspect of it, you know. So it's great.
Yeah, and Donnacha, I'll finish with you. If there was just one more message you had to say to anyone listening now that has one slight bit of interest, what would you be saying to them?
I suppose there's a couple of things first, Jack. Sorry. I suppose we mentioned there that players may want to take up the whistle, and that they might have the worry, oh, sure, I'm training 2 nights a week and I have a match as well. That's 3 out of 7. If we could get 1 night a week off of you as a player and go out and ref a game, like Johnny said there, it's 1 game extra covered per week for us, which is absolutely massive at the moment. Another thing going forward, we did it a couple of years ago as a referees association. We went around to numerous clubs in Limerick, and we went through the rules of the game with them, because I think it's massive. I think one of the issues we have as an association is we have coaches coaching teams, but they're not coaching them per rule. They're coaching them what they think the rule is, but they're not coaching them per rule, and that's massive for us as referees. We're there to enforce the rules. That's our job there, as Johnny just said. So we again would like to open up that possibility to clubs to go around. There's a funny story. I think I said it to Matt a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about this. One of the referees went in to give a rules talk to a club, and he split them up into little groups, and he asked them a question. And there was 5 groups, and not one of the groups got the question right. And the analogy he used is, I'm sitting in the group of 20 people here, and none of you have got it right. But the 20 of you on the day of the game will be shouting at me that I'm wrong. But I've just kind of half proved to you that I'm right. And that team turned around and got that county football final. So there is openings there. The clubs can come to us. Look, Johnny said we're a family, we're a close family, but we're very open. We're open to going out and meeting people. Like, we're going to the board and all county board meeting tonight to meet them. We're going into the county board next Tuesday night to speak to the clubs again inside there. But look, Johnny will tell you there, some of the best days you'll have and some of the best crack you'll have is driving to the match with the umpires. There'll be chats, there'll be messing, there's joking. But once you get into the dressing room, it's game day. You're there to do your job. There is a pathway. I superly enjoyed it. It's one of the best decisions I made in life, to taking up the whistle. Maybe did it a bit late. So I would encourage, if possible, if anyone has any questions, come to us. We'll help you out. And I don't think it's a decision you'll regret, to be honest.
Yeah, it sounds like you've a brilliant family there, and you know there does seem to be a share of respect. You mightn't see it in the heat of the moment, but there does seem to be a bit of respect. But hopefully this recruitment drive will do the job and we'll get more referees, because as you said, and it's the main message that me and Matt kind of put forward a lot, if there's no referee, there's no game. So a huge thank you for you lads for coming on. You've been very generous with your time. We could sit here talking about refs all day, but maybe towards the end of the year we could look back. I suppose the message is kind of, if you want to do it, go and do it. Don't be shy about it. And it probably works both ways, that people on the sideline, myself included, need to maybe brush up on the rule book. But to Donnacha and Johnny, a huge thank you to lads, and best of luck with the rest of the year. I'm sure we'll all see each other more often than we want to, maybe some stages. But a huge thank you, lads, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thanks very much, lads.
Thank you.
Thank you.